man, I've had a lot of pain. So I've had shin splints for almost a straight year that we ran with. In the third year, we've had hernias that, we've had blown out shoulders. We've had kids born. We had, so there's been emotional, there's been financial pain. There's been and one thing I love, man, is that I want to go through all those things.
Yeah.
Because I want to have almost, if somebody comes up to me and they're working with me like, man, I can't do it because of this. I want to almost go like, okay, hey, no problem. I understand that perspective. I had that same perspective. Here's my story. Because, if it's not the money, then it's the relationship. If it's not the relationship, then it's whatever, it's the kids, whatever it is, right? I want to have an answer going like, man, I went through that. Mm-hmm. So how do you get through the pain?
All right, guys. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Mediocre Dads podcast, where being mediocre is a choice and you have to refuse to be mediocre every single day. I'm your host, Quan. I go by Q. And on this episode of Mediocre Dads, I am joined by an amazing guest. And all guests are amazing, but, each one has the one thing or the two things, a few things that make them just better than before or better than the other guests. I'm sorry, guys. It's just honest, okay? My honest opinion, And in this case, I have Chris Avery. And guys, looking at this guy's social media, apparently, like David Goggins, kind of like, we'll call him mental in the head. They go running every day, okay? And they're like, hey, how far can we go before it hurts? And, I love it. The main difference here between him and David Goggins is, I don't know for David Goggins, but I can speak for Chris here, is he has God in his life. And that's the biggest thing that a person can have. So I'm really excited about this episode. And I know you all are going to enjoy this episode as well. So before we dive right into it, Chris, can you kind of introduce yourself and explain a little bit who you are to the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Q. Man, I've been through a lot of struggles in life, a lot of losses. And that really has set me up to realize that, as you said, being mediocre is a choice. And it really sucks. And losing sucks. And so that fuels you to win more, And so a few years ago, about 4 years ago, I decided we wanted to show people what we're really capable of. When we really believe in our abilities, when we really believe we're unlimited, when we really believe we're deeply connected to God, man, what can we do? How unstoppable can we become? And that's where we really decided to start running every day, right? So for over 4.5 years, we've run, and it's evolved into this big, huge thing. And now it's called Chris Runs America, which means in 2027, we will start a 50K a day for 365 days straight. So 31.1 miles around America. We'll see it like no one else, and we'll go with our family and have an incredible experience. So awesome. That's really, that's what we're doing. And then I coach a ton of men, and really we help them pursue their purpose. The other thing we do is I'm a father, right? I have 2 kids. I have a beautiful wife. And I mean, my kids are very young. They've both been born since I've been running. So they're both, 4 years or younger. And man, we coach men and we help them move from hesitation and uncertainty into passion and pursuit of their purpose and building that business. They just need to be more faith-led. They just really need to understand, like, how do I get myself to say, like, I know what to do, but how do I get myself in action, Chris? And that's what we do. We help them, that rubber meet the road and really get into action and create the thing that they really have been dreaming about for years, and telling themselves, like, man, I don't know when I can, but I want to.
That's awesome. And a quick question, is this for you, and this kind of came in my head, is it, when you do the coaching, is it all about running, or is that just that's personally for you?
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Great question. So I'll put it this way. So we do have the men run for sure. Mm-hmm. We do not have the men run 18 miles a day like I'm doing right now. I just want to be clear on that, right? The running is more of the understanding of like 1 to 3 miles a day. It helps us regulate our central nervous system. It helps us connect with God. It helps us work on like our prayer / connection to our own selves. It helps you biochemically, neurologically, and it helps us faith-wise. And it helps us build out like this obedience to something that we do consistently. Because when we see that we do something hard consistently, there's a piece in your brain called the mid-anterior cingulate cortex, which is where resiliency is built. So when you do hard things that you don't want to do and you do them every day, your brain gets this reinforced image of who you are. So running is just the catalyst for that
That's
helps
awesome.
them have these other big explosive growths in their life. It just start like I'm a big fan of this. So I'm lazy, and I know that may sound stupid since I'm running so much, but I really am. And my wife can back this up. I always say like I'm one of the laziest men you know. And so I like to look for the things at the base root. Like I like to feed the root to the tree so all the leaves get healthier and stronger. And
Yeah.
where most people are trying to like trim the tree to make it look pretty, I want to fix the roots because then it makes everything else strong.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's what it's. I think that's where true change occurs, right? It is at the root.
Yeah.
And we can try the like you said, hey, I'm going to shape the leaves, I'm going to make them a little bit more prettier, but the real change in our lives comes at the root. And when when you have Jesus in your life, and I tell these people a lot, but when you have Jesus in your life, that's where he attacks. He doesn't attack the surface area stuff. He attacks at the root, right? He attacks and says, this is the part of your life that needs your humbling, or this is the part where I'm going to change your heart so much that that new creation that he tells us that we are when we believe in him, you start to see it form. You come to shape, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not that person who I was 2 years ago, whatever the case might be, even 2 months ago, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I'm not that same person anymore. I'm sure you've been asked this question before, but man, I'm really curious, and I'm sure the audience is. What led you to saying, you know what, I'm going to commit to running every day? Because I think it's one of those things where we can say, hey, I'm gonna, like a New Year's resolution, I'm gonna go running every day, and then the first week you're like, okay, I'm running every day, and my body feels that I'm running every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then it's like, how do you kept going and you're still doing it? So what was the why? Because I think the why drives everything. And I tell people, you have to have a strong why when you're doing anything in life. But what's the
Yeah.
why for you?
Yeah, and like I reference this in different podcasts that I'm on, and I think there's always layers of why, but I'll give you like I think the biggest, strongest foundation of them. So one thing was I ran a marathon with no training when I like shortly after I got married to my wife, and I can go back more into backstory about that and why that actually has any significance. But then we did a 50 miler during COVID, and then after that, we started looking and we went like, man, I've never run more than 4 days in a row, even training. And I was like, I wonder if I can run 7. I wonder if like I can run 7. And then I was like, and if we can do 7, I wonder if I can do 90. So, January 8th, because you don't start on New Year's, bro. That's the wrong way to cue. You don't do that. You don't start with everybody else on New Year's. You wait till the 8th or 9th. So,
Yeah.
so the 8th, I woke up, I was like, I should do that. And then the 9th, we woke up and we started running miles. And really, it's just been this plan that's evolved. But the why is this, man. One, like, why? Because I want to see how much I really have.
Mm.
See, like the men I work with, they're about extracting the full potential they have. Because your podcast is perfectly titled for this, right? Like, I refuse to be mediocre. I live my life for mediocre for a long, long time. I will even say below mediocre. And I said, like, I refuse to do that. There's something far greater in me. And I think most of us as men, we have that. We have that little like fire inside that says,
Yeah.
Q, there's something more. You can do it. Like, breathe life into it. Don't suppress it. Don't push it down. Don't run from it. And so to me, that day, like that moment is where I went like, man, I want to see how great we can be.
Yeah.
And the other piece of it is the greatness doesn't come from me. My weakness comes from me. The greatness, the light, the strength comes from God. And so I wanted to show people, with God working through you and you aligned with him, what can you really do? Because in scriptures it says, right, like if God is with us, who can be against us? Man,
Yeah.
and I don't want to just read that. I want to live that. And I want to show people that. And so those are really the bigger whys. And then the third one is this. I wanted to show people, man, I feel like as we get kids, like my wife is 10 years younger than me. And so in her family, all of her like sisters had kids before her. And they would keep saying like, oh, when you get kids, you can't do that. Oh, when you get kids, you won't travel as much. Oh, when you get kids, like that's just so much harder. And I'm not, it is, it's more challenging for sure. Yeah, the point of it is me saying like I wanted to show people like, man, when you have kids, it's a reason to go do these things.
Yes.
See, because most of us live and we grow up with parents and they go like, man, Johnny, you can do anything. Man, like you can do anything you want. And your parents don't do anything. They go work a job that
Yes.
they don't love. They come home and they live a mediocre life. And I don't want to be that example to my kids. I want to be the example of like, we said we were going to do something amazing together and I didn't do it. We did it. We
Yeah.
did it with God. Like, cause I want it, like, I look and I go, like, my kids are a fuel for me to keep running. My wife is a fuel for me to keep running. God is the energy source for this. So it's not about me. And then the men I want to serve, I want to be that light to them, man. Like, there's so much darkness in the world,
Yeah.
and it's so easy to focus on. And I want to be that light that pushes away the darkness a little bit more. So those are really the big whys of why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, will you share with me, man? Like, why are you doing what you do?
Man, it started because I love talking. Like I'll be
Okay.
straight honest with you.
Yeah.
Like it started because I love talking, but then I was like, I love talking so much, but I was like, what am I going to talk about?
Mm,
You know what I mean? And that became, okay, well, I'm a dad, and a lot of people don't know, and I'm sure a lot of people now who follow the channel know this now, but it was when I was 16, I had my dream was to be a dad. And there's a backstory behind that. And it was that I have a twin brother, and we were adopted when we were 2 years old. And, so we didn't know our parents or who our birth parents were. And at 16, our birth mom reaches out to us and on Facebook, and we get to kind of meet her that way. My brother
wow.
has met her in person. I have not, personal choice of mine, but he has met her in person, and we talked to her, asked the questions that every adopted kid ever wants to ask their parents, especially their birth parents, of ultimately of why, what
Mm,
happened, why am I here, why did this happen, and she answers those questions for us, and that's great. That was her side of what happened and how things came to be. But she's like, hey, this is who your birth dad is. And I've reached out to him. I've told him that you guys should connect as well. And we became friends on Facebook, and we waited. Both me and my brother, we waited for him to tell us who he was and introduce
mm,
himself or just give us something.
mm-hmm,
It was radio silence. Zero, nothing. Radio silence. And he has a whole big family of his own now.
mm,
And it hurt a lot because it's like, this is the man that who we came from, who's supposed to can be able to tell us about some of the things, the quirks of who we are, why we are, like just give us
yeah.
those answers. And it didn't happen. And so fast forward to, I become a dad in 2018, and I I I made a commitment to myself of like, hey, I can't wait to be a dad, because when I do become a dad, I'm not going to be like him. I refuse to be like him. And so then fast forward to 2023. I told my wife, I said, hey, I'm going to start a podcast. I'm serious about it. I'm going to do it. I'm doing it. And I did it. And the topic that stuck on my mind was talking about being a dad.
Yeah.
And that was what drove me, and how I got here is from the simplest thing for me. It's like, I just love talking. I wonder what I could talk about, to I was like, wow, I actually have something that I can talk about, that is meaningful, that is impactful, and that I believe that people want to hear, but also people want to say like, man, okay, his life, using my life as an example, they could be like, okay, my life's not that bad, and I'm not saying I have a terrible life or anything, but
Yeah.
it's hard to come from that and then be like, I'm okay. I'm totally okay. There's nothing wrong. I'm okay. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to keep faking it over and over, and then to be real with yourself. Like, I have so much on my heart and my mind that I need to get off my chest, that this was the best place for me to do it, and I've been
Mm,
doing it for years. Where it's just, honestly, it excites me.
I love it.
But for like me, and it's similar to you, and I heard it when you were talking, was you said we. and it was you and your wife, and I love that. It's not just this is a Chris's thing, this is what Chris does, and my wife supports me and she's awesome, yeah, I love it, but this is what we do together. This is the thing that as a couple, as a one in a relationship, this is what we do. And I love that, right? Because a lot of times when we get into something, whether a hobby or whatever it is, it's okay, I want to do something, this is just a me thing and whatever. What am I going to do to kind of feed that desire I have to do something bigger and greater than myself? But when we involve our wives, oh my goodness, when we involve are the ones who love us, the ones who've said, hey, I have your back through thick and thin no matter what, and we make it a we thing. Ooh, it's unstoppable on what you can do together, right? You know what I mean? And like my wife, she doesn't want anything to do with like being on the podcast, right? I totally get that. However, the things you see, the camera, the behind me, the lights and all that, this is not Quan. This is a lot of Aubrey being like, okay, I think that looked kind of dumb. And I'm like, all right, well, this is why I was doing it. And she was like, okay, I see what you're going for. Let's do it this way. And like,
but it didn't work. I see what you're going for, but it did.
Yeah,
dramatically failed. Let's go.
You need me in this, like, yeah, sure. Like she's had so many of the ideas and to help me really kind of bring this to fruition. And so it's like, I haven't done this. This has been a we thing completely. And I give her kudos every chance I get, because I tell people, I'm like, you don't know. And there's a chair behind me. I'm sure you guys can't see him, but when in person, I have my in-person studio set up behind me. And so when someone comes over to sit in, and I tell people, it's like, you have no idea how many hours my wife has sat in that chair across from me just for me to move a light a few inches and then be like, okay, what does that look like now? Or to move this over here to add this flavor of thing behind me, or whatever the case may be. That. She spent hours in this chair, in one of those chairs behind me, helping me and saying, yep, I like it. Audio's good. This is coming through. Like, and I'm like, you can't overlook that. This is a we thing from through and through. I tell people completely, it's a we thing through and through. So what did you have to do convincing for was there any convincing for your wife? You're like, hey, look, I have an idea. It's crazy, but we should do it. Or was it kind of like, hey, you know what? Okay, let's try it.
Yeah, it was more, let's try it. I mean, from even when when my wife was running the marathons, and the first time I told her like we were dating, and I said, absolutely never. And then, like, I love working out. I will never run. I hate running. Why would I ever do that? You pay. How far do you have to run? And you pay. You
have
money?
To pay for it.
Yeah, you pay somebody to run that. I said I could run that far for free right now. Did you know that? Like, I could just. You don't have to pay anybody. I'll help you out. Back to the answer to your question. I can. Like, when I said I would run the marathon with no training, and I just go back to this just reference, she said, "Oh, that makes sense. Like, it makes sense that you would want to test your mental strength and see if you're strong enough." So when I came in to do this, the things that there has been things where she's helped me, I will say, pull them in so it's a smarter choice, a more wise choice. So when I came in and I said like, hey, I want to see how far I can run. I want to see if I can do something with. And we started out with run just across America. So we started out with how far is that? How many people have done that? Oh, there's too many people that have done that, and it's not enough miles. Like, that's way too easy. Since we've never done this before, it's way too it's way too easy. That's way too simple. That's not going to be. Man. It's not going to be unique.
We need something bigger.
We've never done this before. We got to do something bigger. It's kind of like I did with the training. Like, I didn't train for a marathon. Then I said, okay, I've conquered that marathon thing. And I said, what's the next smart step? Not train for a marathon. No, let's do a 50 miler. That's smarter. You don't need to do any of that training stuff. But so just she's very supportive, man. Like, she is. And then, I prayed for this. I prayed for this before I got married. Like, I wanted somebody that would like love and support me, love me for who I am, and would want to grow better together and have incredible experiences. And incredible experiences come with ups and downs. Yeah. And because she says yes so much, it becomes this thing where it is us. Yeah. It's not me versus her. It's not me going out and doing my thing separate. She doesn't really approve of. It's, man, you know what? Before we ever even planned this, we always want to travel in an RV around America. So we're going to do that afterwards. So it
Okay.
helps lead to that. So there's parts of the story that she wants and combined with it. But man, when I've come in, she's the one that came up. Like we were discussing on how we would run it, how we'd make it unique. And about 2.5 years into the running, she came in and said, like, what if you just run the perimeter of America? And I was like, bingo, let's do that. And she's like, all right, let me look it up. And then she looked up the mileage. And, me, I'm like, I want to do 50 miles, babe. I want to do 50 miles a day. And she said, listen, like, that's great, but she's a help. She filters me, right? Because that's where I'm saying she ramps me down. She tampers me down. And she says, listen, you want this to be part of your family? If you're doing 50 miles a day every day, family won't be included. So do you want the family to go or do you want to do 50 miles? And I said, no, I want the family. And she said, then we're sticking with 30 miles. And I said, you're right. But in every way, she is supportive. She just helps me filter and understand, like, what are the better, healthier choices and what are the ones that we can, have the achievements we want, not just do something to achieve it, even though we don't want the end goal, if that makes sense. And so that's really where she's a rock. She seriously is in every way for our family.
Well, I think one of the verse that came to my mind, and I was looking it up here, was Proverbs 18:22. It says, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord." And it speaks so truthfully to a lot of what you were talking about and what we were talking about here, is because I think that a lot of people undervalue what it really means to find a wife or a husband that's with you from, you know what I mean? Like, that's really with you. Like, it's easy. I tell people, when I had soldiers, it's easy to go out there and find a significant other. It's easy to say, hey, I really like this person. And we all know what I mean when I say they really like this person. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm going to marry this person. And it's like, okay, I need you to understand though, like, it's good now, and I'm happy for y'all that y'all really like each other. However, when you guys get married and you guys hit that first roadblock together, you guys are not going to stay committed to each other because you guys got married for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And so I would tell them, I said, listen, here's, I'm not trying to, force Jesus on y'all. In a way I am, but I'm not, legally as I can here in the military, I'm not forcing Jesus on you, but I am going to tell you about him every single chance I get. And I would tell them, I was like, in my personal opinion, how you guys should do this is, I said, for 3 months, for 90 days, all right, I said, you guys, it's almost like you're teenagers again, and the furthest you can go is some hand holding and maybe some kissing. That's about it. But I said every day you make it a point though to know and learn about each other, to really figure out who this person is and know this person, right? Because it's really easy to do what the world does, right? Which is go out there and you sleep with this person, have a relationship with this person, then say, yeah, we're getting married, and we love each other. Let me tell you how much we love each other. Our bed is evidence of how much we love each other. You know what I mean? Like, and that's it. That is it of where the extent of where the love is. And it's nowhere. It's nothing else. It's not, hey, I love how passionate she is about taking care of her kids, or I love how passionate she is. And I'm talking about my wife here, guys. Now, I love how passionate she is about when she's cooking and she's making a meal for the family. She's enjoying it. She's enjoying herself, and she does it for us, and but she does it also because it brings her joy. My wife made brownies yesterday, right? And she includes my daughters and lets them help to an extent, because kids can be frustrating in the kitchen. But she enjoys that, and it brings her joy. And me being able to see that and respect them, like, oh my gosh, she loves doing that. It makes her happy. I'm like, that is where that's my wife. That moment where she's smiling because she's, mixing something or whatever the case might be, and she's listening to her audiobook, and she's in a place of bliss. How I feel right now is how she feels when she's in the kitchen. And
Mm.
I know how bad that sounds, but she loves being in the kitchen, guys. I promise you. I don't tell her go to the kitchen, okay? She loves it. All right. It's a stereotype, and she loves it. So I love you, babe. Sorry, but anyway, it's awesome, you know. And I just think it's amazing on how when you really start to see that person that you're with or that you want to be with for who they are outside of the physical aspect, you're like, oh my goodness, this is love. This is passion. It makes that love that much better, that much more. You know what I mean? It makes it that much more realer. You know, but we're I know we're talking about this running and the wife things, and one of the things for me is, and thinking about, you know, all these stories in the Bible, and I say stories, they're real, they really happen, guys, but stories in the Bible, right? And it makes me think of, you know, you're running and how easy it can be to quit because it's painful. And it's kind of like it reminds me of who was it? I think it was, oh my gosh, it was Jonah. There we go. Jonah, right? Jonah ran away from his calling, right? God said, "Hey man, you need to go to Nineveh and you need to warn them, or, you know, Sodom and Gomorrah is what they're going to end up like." And he was like, "Nah, I think you weren't talking to me. I'm going to go this way," right? And but when he got there, and he when he, you know, obviously know the story of Jonah, right? He was in the whale for 3 days and then came out of the whale, and he went to Nineveh and he preached, and everybody repented and whatnot. But where a lot of people stop reading or stop paying attention is towards the end of Jonah. Is Jonah sitting there on a hill, and where he can overlook the city of Nineveh, and the Lord says to him, he says, you know, look, everybody turned and they acknowledged their ways. He goes, I'm not going to destroy the city of Nineveh. And Jonah is upset. He is angry that he was like, Lord, I put in all this work for you to, you know, look, I was in the mouth of a whale for 3 days, man. And then I came here and I was obedient. And I preached the word at the time, and told them that they need to repent and acknowledge and all these things. And they did that, but you said you were going to destroy them. And now you didn't. So for you, and it's kind of where this is where my mind goes. I hope you're following me here. Is for you is you're running, and I'm sure you've hit this roadblock where you're just like, I don't have any more in me. But all this work, all these miles that I've ran, all these things, effort that I've put in, is it for nothing if I just say for this one day I'm not going to do it?
Yeah, but I think that's a good question. I'll give you. I want to answer, if it's okay. I want to go back a few steps, and then we'll come back to that piece. So if nothing else, remind me of that question if I forget
Absolutely.
what it is. I want to go back to the choosing like your mate in a sense. And you read Proverbs 18:22, and I want to read Proverbs 18:21. And it is, life and death is by the power of the tongue. Those that love it eat the fruit thereof. And to me, that's such a profound scripture to understand. Because if I'm around my wife and she's always dogging what I'm doing, if she's always putting down what I'm doing, then it's going to be much more challenging. If we're always confronting and butting heads, because she's speaking death to my purpose and I'm speaking life to it. And she's eating that fruit and I'm eating my fruit. And we're eating different fruit and we're speaking different things. So that causes a confrontation between us, and also between the thing that we are doing, you know, that we're doing together, that if she wasn't doing with me, that I'd want to be doing by myself. And so I agree, man. Like, one of the things is that I prayed so deeply, like I said before, I found her. And it really is like, pray for the person you're gonna, like, understand their character. I let go of a lot of the worldly things that I thought like I wanted in a person, because I realized that was all of the world and not of like the spirit. Yeah. And when I started looking at the spirit, man, you get something way different. And you get a way different character of a person. And this sounds cheesy, but I told my now wife, then girl that I just started dating a few weeks after we started dating, I said, the first time I met, I felt like our souls danced. Wow. And there was a feeling that I never had about any of the other ladies, and it wasn't a sexual feeling. It was a connection feeling. And that was really a huge catalyst to me continuing to pursue her. So I want to go back to the pain thing, right? That's really the question, is how do you kind of keep going through the pain? Is that correct, Q?
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I've had a lot of pain. So I've had shin splints for almost a straight year that we ran with.
Wow.
In the third year, we've had hernias that, we've had blown out shoulders. We've had kids born. We had, so there's been emotional, there's been financial pain. There's been almost, and one thing I love, man, is that I want to go through all those things
Yeah.
because I want to have almost, if somebody comes out to me and they're working with me like, man, I can't do it because of this. I want to almost go like, okay, hey, no problem. I understand that perspective. I had that same perspective. Here's my story. Because, if it's not the money, then it's the relationship. If it's not the relationship, then it's whatever, it's the kids, whatever it is, right? I want to have an answer going like, man, I went through that.
Hmm.
So how do you get through the pain? First, and foremost, I will say this, and I learned this way after I was already running, way after I'd gone through a ton of pain. But I kept praying for my strength for a lot of the run. And I would say, God, give
Mm.
me more strength, give me more strength. Like when the nights when it was 11:59, I had to go run 13 miles when my son was born. Those type of nights, you go like, man, God, I just give me more strength. Man, my body hurts so bad, it's just breaking down. Give me more strength. And I remember finally hearing from the Spirit, like, stop praying for your strength, pray for His strength.
Mm.
And I realized, like, man, my weakness isn't meant to be strong. My weakness is meant to be weak because then I rely and lean on Him. Then I pick up the cross every day instead of picking up my crutch of the thing that I'm replacing God with. Because oh man, I got this. I'm strong enough. I don't need that much help. But I didn't because I had God. And so to me, when I look at this, man, I understand this that if I can go another step, I'm going to. I've had this belief that I put in my head like if I get outside, I figure out a way to get the miles done.
Yeah.
And these are the type of things we just keep saying to ourselves, like God built me for this. Those are another things we say. So when we come up to those things that are confronting, we realize that in your biochemical level, your central nervous system wants to fight or flight, right? Get out of this situation. Man, this is tough. It's painful. I don't like it. I want to run from it or fight it. And sometimes both at the same time. You want to run and fight.
Hmm.
And so when you learn how to regulate yourself, when you learn how to tap into God's power, when you learn how to speak to yourself in a powerful forward vision trajectory, you learn that these things that come, these trials, are really meant to shine light on your weakness so you can find ways through them.
Yeah.
They're not meant to stop you. They're not meant to break you. They're meant to remake you. And when you're remade in a better image. And here's what
Hmm.
I'll tell you the biggest thing, Q, that I've gotten from running is the spiritual growth. Because
Yeah.
as scripture says, the flesh is weak, but the spirit is always willing.
Yep.
So I know if I'm feeling weak, I'm tapped into my body. I'm all about the world. I'm all about like outcome. Got to get this done. It's got to look a certain way.
Hmm.
And when I realize I tap into the spirit, like there's always a way. And those are
That's
the type
awesome.
of things that just help me keep going through these challenges, man, through really, really hard times where I go and I want to be honest, man. There's times where I've gone to my wife and like I'm just bawling. I'm like, I'm
Hmm.
I'm done. We're done. Like we're done with the run thing. Like, either it's too hard, like we're not getting like there, it doesn't seem like anybody cares or there's no support. Like tons of things in the past that happened through it. 4 years, there's a lot of opportunity for life to happen without the run stuff, but then
Yeah.
with the run stuff on top of it. And so, when I look at that, I just realize, man, that this is way bigger. It's way bigger than me. And
Hmm.
today, like the thing that fuels me now is it is way bigger. Like so, shame on me if I quit because I'm not quitting on me. I'm quitting on God and I'm quitting on my family and I'm quitting on all these men
Hmm.
that are watching me. And that's responsibility, man. And responsibility as a man, we all have it. And it's such a thing to like accept and be grateful for
Yeah.
because it makes us far greater and it raises that bar way above mediocre.
That's awesome, man. You were talking and when we at the beginning of the episode, I'll tell you, I pulled this verse up and I didn't even say it, but then you kept on right now, and the verse came back in my head. So for me, it's like, hey, all right, Holy Spirit, I hear you, and it's the verse, and it's 1 John 4:4, but the gist of it is, greater is He who is in me than me is who was of the world, and it reminds me of just like that's what it's about. It's He is greater,
Yep.
right? So if I have Him and I lean on Him, right? Like I just say, "Hey, Lord, I I can't. I can't. I don't have any more strength. I've tried to give all of my strength every single time that I get out on this freaking road to go run. I don't have any more in me. I need you when you do that. And it's like, it's amazing. I'll give you guys a real world example. So I this year, I will be running my first full marathon this year.
Yes. Yes, Q. That's what I'm talking about.
I usually run my half marathons for my birthday. That's my birthday gift to myself every year, is a half marathon. But this year, I told my wife, you know, what happened last year and the year before where I didn't run. I said, hey, you know what? This year I'm running my first full marathon. Because I want to do an Ironman. I think I want to do a half Ironman first, maybe do a full. We'll see how all of that goes. But some years down the line, I want to do my first Ironman. And so I told her, I said, this year the goal is I'm running my first full 26.2 miles marathon. And she's like, okay, all right. You know, she goes, when you know, that's on you. And I said, I'm gonna start training soon. I just, after maybe it cools down, I was like, man, it gets cold here in Colorado. I'm gonna tell you, I'm not used to this type of cold. Running this type of cold, you're brave, because I've seen the photo with the snow ice on your face. Yeah. I'd be pissed off more than anything. But anyway, total segue. But you know, I remember I was running my first half marathon, and I'm sitting there, and I get to mile 8, and let me tell you, I got to mile 8, and I was just like, I want to quit. I want to quit. I want to be done. This is stupid. I don't know why I signed up for this. Again, I paid someone to come run 13 miles. What complete buffoonery for that. What was I thinking? Why was I thinking I was going to do this? Like, you know what I mean? And my father-in-law was running with me. And so I remember mile 8, my body was just like, this is it. I can't do it anymore. And so we're going, we get to mile 9, we get to mile 10. By mile 10, I'm telling you right now, all I want to do is sit on the side of the road and say, I did something. That's all that matters, right? Like I quit. This is dumb. I'm never doing this again. This is really, really stupid. And my father-in-law, he was kind of this little voice in my head. He wasn't like pushing me like, come on, you got this. It was just like, hey, come on, man, let's just take a little walk, right? Let's just walk it out a little bit, right? And slowly but surely, we started going. And I remember praying in my head, like, Lord, why am I doing this? Like, why am I doing this? This is, again, the word that keeps coming on. This is stupid. Why am I doing this? And I finally remember we're about a mile or so from the finish line, but we can kind of see the finish line and the whole thing, you know, the end where it's there. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know, my wife and my baby daughter, at my time, my oldest daughter, she was, I think, maybe 2 years old at this point. And so I said, you know what? I said, I want them to see me running across the finish line, not walking in pain. I don't care how much pain I am, but I will be running across this finish line. And so we start a little trot, and we're jogging, and I start to see all the people, and they're cheering. Everyone's cheering you on. It's like, yeah, come on, you can do this. You got this, you know, and I see my wife and my daughter, and I'm just like, this is why I'm here. And I don't know what it is. I didn't feel any pain anymore. Nope. And I just ran across the finish line. I expected to collapse on the ground. I didn't collapse. I stood there, and my wife came and hugged me. My little daughter, I smell, and I'm looking at her. She's so adorable, you know, when they're babies and all that. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, like, I wanted to quit 2 miles ago. And I could have quit. I could have been said, I'm done. This is it. And I wanted to quit, but I didn't. And in this feeling of, when I remember, I'm like, this is the feeling a person gets when they know that, like, hey, I may not be able to do this, but again, greater is he who is in me. And I'm like, when he gives you that strength to be like, listen, I know it sucks right now. I know it's painful right now. But when you get to that finish line, you're not going to think about when it sucked. You're going to think about, I almost gave up and said, I can't do this anymore. Well, it's like following Christ, where we're like, in the beginning, we're on fire for Jesus. I'm like, oh my Lord Jesus, everything is great. I'm so happy to be with you and have a relationship with you. And then and then you're like, you hit your first wall again. Like I was mentioning with the marriage, you hit your first wall, and trust me, it's going to come. Right? It's going to come. Those trials, take joy in your trials, as James says in James 1 verse 2. These trials are going to come, but it's about your faith and trusting him and having faith in him. And when you have faith in him, and you're like, like this sucks right now, and then he gets you gets you through to the other end. You're like, I almost said that you weren't real and I just abandoned you. But look at what you did. Look at the things that you've done for me in my life, and not only me, but for my family. And I almost said it wasn't worth it because I wasn't willing to handle just a little smidget bit of pain. I was uncomfortable, and I said, you know what? I should just give up. And that, that for me that's literally what running is. It's a walk, or so it's your walk with Christ, where you're like, you're gonna, depending whatever mile it is, yeah, it's gonna suck whenever you get to that mile. We all know, and I'll say as runners, I'm not a runner completely yet, but as runners, there's that one specific mile you get to that you said, when I get to that mile, I don't know what it is, but I literally just want to be like, you want to chop off my legs? Cool,
Yeah,
do it right now. I'm game. This never sounded like a great idea until now. Mile 10 is for me. That's what mile 10 is, the worst mile ever. Every time I'm running and I'm doing 10 plus miles, mile 10 is the worst mile for me. It's the mile that I get to and I'm saying, I don't know why I'm here. But I guess for you, what's that point? What's that mile marker? I think it's pretty interesting here. What's that mile marker for you where you're like, I don't know if this is worth it anymore. I don't know if I want to keep doing this.
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I've never been asked that before. I think that's an evolving thing, because I mean, as you become, as you do an ordinary thing extra,
Yeah.
it becomes more extraordinary to most people. But when you're doing the ordinary thing extra, you realize that a lot of times it sucks. And when you're doing it every day, it can suck even more at times,
Yeah.
And so when I look at it, I look at that probably that 15-mile range-ish. It's just where you're like, okay, I think I'm done running. I've done it. Like, is 3 more miles gonna really make that much difference to in my training? Like if I didn't hit 18 today, well, it's not like I can't hit 18 tomorrow. And I will say almost those are the harder parts of the mile. It's not even the miles; it's the chatter that comes into your mind because it's all this stuff of like, we can quit, we've done enough.
Yeah.
And that is really where mediocre starts to kick in. Cause like somebody may go like, well, that's crazy, man, 15 miles. Yeah, but that may be my new average, right? So that may be my new mediocre in a sense. Because if I can run 18, I know I can run 18. So if I'm doing 15, maybe that's mediocre to me.
Yeah.
But to me, like, that's really where that's the harder part to overcome, is that little seep. And you have to really be good at like priming and pruning your brain and pre-framing and reframing things and understanding God's authority and how to speak that, how to pray that into your language as you move. And so it certainly, though, that 15 miles, sometimes I go like, what are we and it's just like, you also you guys got to think, like, I run 3+ hours, so sometimes you go like, man, do I really need to run 3+ hours today? Like, I think 2.5, that seems reasonable. Seems like a reasonable amount, But that's my answer.
That's awesome. He's like, do I need to? But again, this is why I tell people, it's everything spiritual, right? It's similar to, it's like, well, do I need to really read my Bible today? I mean, I read a lot yesterday. I prayed a lot yesterday. Do I really need to read more today? Like, I can, I can do more tomorrow if it really comes down to it. But, and it's something as simple as those small actions. When we do those small actions over and over and over and over, they start to be reflected in our bigger actions, where those bigger decisions, bigger actions, you're like, heck yeah, I can do that. All these smaller actions have prepared me for this bigger action, right? I'll tell people is all the episodes that I have done on Mediocre Dads, in the episodes that I did when I first started, that maybe not a lot of people really watched, or whatever the case might be. Those were episodes in those small, just by getting in front of the camera and just pressing record and doing the thing, doing those episodes allowed me to now be here I am today, where I will show somebody my podcast for the first time and they're like, man, you were really born to do this and you really got the whole thing. And I'm like, you guys need to go watch the very first video that I ever made. And you will be like, oh, okay, this was trial and error. This wasn't just he woke up and he was like, you know what, guys, I'm pretty good at this. Joe Rogan has nothing on me. Okay, look, I'm actually bigger than he is. Like no, like and that like that was the thing. The level where I tell people is, I'm like, no, like you guys have no idea the hours that I've spent. I said I tell people I recorded my first episode 5 times. 5 times I recorded my first episode. But I said, by the time I got to a point where I said, I saw somebody from high school post on their Facebook that they were doing something new or whatever the case might be. I said, I'm done. I'm going to post this episode. So I posted it and it wasn't the greatest. Now, judging myself, my worst critic, I look at it, I'm like, definitely some things I should have worked on and could have worked on. And I had not gotten used to hearing my own voice in my headphones. Totally thing to trip me out. But it was, by the time, like I said, I posted it, I felt good. I had accomplished something. And so now when I, like, again, my walk with Christ, it's, I read my word. I do I have my study times my times with him when I'm like, I needed this. I needed this because I know what it does for me every single day. Just like running, like, man, talking to you makes me want to go run like freaking 5 miles right now. And I know it would be a terrible idea for me, but it's one of those things. Cause I know, just like I know what reading my word does for me, I know what running does for me. I know the feeling I can get. I never thought I could get to a point. I'm sorry. I know I'm talking a lot. I never thought I'd get to a point where I could run and not listen to music. I thought that was the most ridiculous thing in the world. Like me getting to Quan running and not listening to music. That's absurd. Absolutely not. Now I can tell you when I start the first mile or two, I'm like, yeah, let me listen to music to kind of get into rhythm. But after that, I'll take my headphones out. I'm like, I freaking hate music. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to listen to music. I'd rather listen to a podcast as I'm running right now. And everyone thinks I'm crazy, but I promise you I'm not. It's just, it just does something. It calms me down and it puts me in a place where like my body will do the rest and I'll forget that I'm running. And then you look down and I'm like, oh, I'm at mile 8. I said I was going to run 10. I'm running 10. You know what I mean? And and I go for it, but that's what it really has been for me. I again, this is the journey that you're on. And I'm really interested and intrigued about your, running the rim of the United States. Is it just going to be you and your wife, or is there more people that you guys are going to have go out and join you guys?
Yeah, so we're working on establishing the full team right now, but we'll have like me, my wife, obviously, and the kids, but we'll have some other teammates that'll come along. Some for documenting, some for just sprinter van support, and just as support as I need as we're out there, and some that they'll run with me and come out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Chris, I was looking, like you said, I was looking at your social media before we got on the show, and I was like, man, this guy he's on some stuff. To run every day. Look, I keep running every day for 4 years, and I'm like, running every day for 4 years. Oh, I was in the Army and I didn't run that much. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't run that much. If we ran every day, I would be sick. I would be like, no, get away from me. I'm not running today. I no, but that I think it really drew me because it was like, as a man of God, is how do you get to that point where you're like, hey, I'm being obedient. And yeah, it hurts, but it's like, this is what I have to do. This is what I was called to do, and I love it. I love it. And I've seen you and talking to you in person and going on your social media, be able to see you, to know, like, you're going to be doing this, keep running tomorrow. I'm like, it's amazing. I don't know, man. I'm really interested to follow your journey and see where you go, or how far you go, and see you do it. Because I think you had said this on another podcast when I was just kind of going through, was, it's not necessarily about saying like, hey, I finished it or I did it. It's just about the journey of doing it.
Yeah. So like, if it's okay, I'd love to speak to that just real quick.
Yeah,
So,
no, absolutely.
I'm not a great runner by any means, and I seriously mean that. That's like not me trying to be humble. That's real. And I just remember running during the summer, and summer just kicks my butt. Like I'd much rather run in the cold than the heat.
Really? Oh, we
Oh
are
yeah,
opposite.
yeah. I
No.
know. I could tell that when you said that. I thought like, oh man, I'll get you out in the cold. You help get me out in the heat. So I'm running during the summer. And luckily, I live in a place where I can run down by a river, and I run across this bridge, and I just stop, and I just like get emotional because I go like, man, it's amazing. I've been doing this for so long, and yet there's only a few more summers to like to be running like this. Like I probably won't ever run like this in my life again. I probably won't ever run around the perimeter of America again. And so to me, it isn't about finishing because if you're extracting value, experience, excitement, love for life, it's not in the finish. And I know everybody's like the stupid thing of like it's about the journey. It's about like when you're in the journey, it is about enjoying pieces of that journey.
Yeah.
And then when the tough stuff comes, extracting massive value so you grow from it. So there's always a win in the journey. But when I was running that day, I just stopped and went like, man, there's going to be 2 more summers of this. What an amazing experience. There's nobody else that I know that I've seen out here doing this every day. Like, what a blessing that I get to do this. What an incredible life that most people will die and go to their grave saying, I wish I could have lived. Maybe it's not running, but they wish they could have done something.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like Les Brown says that the wealthiest places in the world are the graveyards because people die with the music, with that master symphony that they were going to compose that they never did, that book that was going to save somebody's life that they never wrote, that business that they were going to create that was going to impact their life and their family and those around them, and they never did. So to me, I look and go like, man, it is not about the finish. It is about spiritually growing. And then I didn't think that in the beginning. I'm gonna be honest. That's something I've just come to because the greatest growth has come from this. I wouldn't trade a day of the hards for anybody else's life.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Listen, that's not even saying like I wouldn't trade the days of the good. I'm not even including that. The days of the bads and the hards, I wouldn't trade for anybody because it is incredible, man. And experiencing something like this, it really is. It's once in a lifetime. Like we're gonna do something. I'm gonna be honest, Q. We got other plans, so we're gonna do something amazing after this. But like this is it right now. This is it. Like enjoy it. You're here. I'm only gonna get to be with my kids and run with them when they're 1 and 4 for this year. And like it's like oh man, Jim Rohn says, like he's talking to people about doing activities, and people like I get to see my parents for the next 40 years, and he says, how often do you see your parents? And he goes like, oh, twice a year. And he goes, no, you get to see them 80 more times. Yeah. And when we look at it like that, it brings more value to each moment, opposed to conglomerating them all together and going like, this is just one big experience. We're all the experiences in the moments. And that's what we're really looking for in life. That's the true joy and tastiness of the meat that we get to eat of life is those joyful little moments in the moments.
That's beautiful, man. My life in the Army was taught me how to be on the go constantly. Go, 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 go. We're always moving. And it's gotten to the point, man, I can tell you, I got a friend of mine and we've talked about this before where we take some time off, right? We would take some time off and you couldn't enjoy the time off because all you were thinking about was the first day you got to go back. So it was, I could be taking, 10 days off but all that's on my mind is like, gosh, all that 1 day down, that means 9 more days until I have to go back to work, 8 more days until I go to work. And then it became where I wasn't able to actually enjoy, what I was doing with my family. I was just there. I was just a body there, but I wasn't actually enjoying it because all that I could think about was like, I don't want to go back to work. But all I can think about is how many days I have left to enjoy this and going back to work. And now I'm not even enjoying it because this all that's flooded in my mind right now. And so I couldn't enjoy some of those small moments. And I miss some of those moments that my kids will remember forever. But me it was just another moment we spent together. right? Where I took it for granted and I said, oh, this is another moment I'm spending with my kids. And of course, it's a great spending time with my kids, but I'm taking it for granted. And the realization, and now, I think I mentioned earlier, now is where I want to be present and enjoy now, right? I can't predict what's going to happen tomorrow. I can't predict what's going to happen in a year. As much as I try to plan in my life to say this is where I want to be and what I want to do and where I want to be in my career or my life and my family, I can't tell you that's for sure what's going to happen because it's the Lord's will, not my will. And so it's like, all right, you know what? But what if I enjoy right now? What if I enjoy some of the simple things? My kids we have a fireplace here in Colorado, and which is pretty cool for us. And so my kids love where we when I, put a fire on the law or put a fire up there and having a fire in the house is like, oh my goodness, you have one of those? Like my kids had never seen it before. So we have one of those. And so like, we put a fire up and we'll watch a movie. We watched Avatar Way of Water like 2 weeks ago, and we had the fire on, and it was so cool because my middle daughter's 3 and my oldest daughter's 7, but they thought Avatar was like the coolest thing ever. You know what I mean? They were like, is that real? Do you find those things in the ocean? I'm like, oh, that's not real. That's not real. But it was so cool because you got the fire. It's just blissful, it's peaceful. We were watching it and I was like, I'm enjoying this moment of where it was like, yeah, my life around me is kind of in chaos a little bit, but like this moment right here, I can't change this moment. This moment, my life being in chaos allowed for this moment to happen and allowed for me to enjoy this moment. And it's just those things where my hope for everybody is just enjoying those small moments that you have and realizing like, when it's gone, you're gonna be like, all those old people that we talk about, where they're like, oh, back in my day when they did, and when I was your age, I did this, and I remember, and I wish I did this. You don't have to wish anymore. You're in it now. You're in it now, where you say, hey, I get to do those things. So instead, the verbiage changes, where it's when I was your age, I did this thing, man. Oh man, let me tell you how beautiful it was. I was running past this river where we used to live, and just you see the sun reflecting off the water and the trees, and you taking in the fresh air and realizing how beautiful everything is. This is God made this, and I get to enjoy it. And it was perfect because I didn't have to have my phone out to record it, take a picture. It's seared in my brain of what that picture, that image of what that's like. And I know your kids are going to be, they're young now, but they're going to be ecstatic when they're older and be like, Dad, we did that? That's me? You were running? How far? Where were you running again? You were running to Montana? Wait. And then you went to, I'm confused. Where did we go?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But as you get older, you're like, my dad, this is how far he ran. And we did it with him. And it's not, again, like you mentioned, it's not just about running. It's not, it's not, they're not going to be proud because you just ran. They're going to be like, but my dad did something amazing and he made me a part of it. And I love that. I think that's awesome, Chris. Man, I love it. Where can people find you? What's the best place for people to go to learn more about you, follow you on a journey, and even help, donate to your journey to help you with your cause?
Yeah, great. I appreciate that, Q. So Chris Runs America. Where you can go there. You can type in your email, and we can send out that information. We need to put all of it on the website yet. We haven't done that, but we have, you can donate to, if you want to help support us, get us some new shoes or get us some food, whatever it may be, however you want to support us, we'd love that. So we do have a place you can go donate. If you go on Instagram, you can follow me on Chris Avery Coaching. That's the best place to find us. And Chris Runs America. I'm also on Facebook, but I think Instagram, if you go to Facebook, I'm Chris Avery. Like Q said, you can look for the dude with the picture of his frozen beard, or just a person running that's just getting blasted by snow while he's running out. So just look for those
in
pictures.
Shorts, by the way, guys.
Some of them are shirtless. Don't look for those, but some of them are shirtless as well. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, hey, guys, don't worry. All of his stuff will be in the description below, so you can go check it out. Again, I want you guys to check it out. So, Chris, I appreciate you being on the show. Again, I really want to have you on the show again, not only to talk before you go on your run, but after your run, because I think it would be amazing to have you on to have this conversation again. But I really appreciate you coming on. It means a lot to me. And guys, as usual, subscribe to the channel. But my final thoughts here is being mediocre is a choice, and you have to refuse to be mediocre every single day. That's all I got. We'll catch you guys next time.